Welcome back to the Book of Boba Fett after show. This is Sean.
And this is Chris.
And tonight we're talking about episode 5, chapter 5 of the Book of Boba Fett. This one's all about Din Djarin. It's the return of the Mandalorian.
Yeah, I thought it was low hanging fruit, but dude, I was pumped. I was so excited. I mean, I didn't realize I needed to see Din Djarin as much as I did.
I know, it was good. If you haven't joined us before, Chris and I do this thing each and every Friday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We've been talking about the Book of Boba Fett. We have other after shows that we've done as well. Ted Lasso, WandaVision, a lot of the stuff on Disney Plus, and we'll be continuing to do coverage after Boba Fett's done. So be sure to check us out on dadnarok.com as well as on our YouTube page. Just search Dadnarok, DADNAROK. That's us.
Absolutely. And interaction is highly encouraged. So if we missed something or something that you liked that we didn't talk about, let us know and we'll address it.
Yeah, but so this episode, there's a bigger context around this episode as far as how it landed and what the discussion is around how it fits in this show. But I think maybe we should just talk about the episode
There is
itself.
so many positive things about this episode.
Yeah.
I only have maybe one gripe about it. And I don't even want to talk about that until we're clear past, what we really liked about this episode.
Right.
And for one, this episode really highlights how much Bryce Dallas Howard should be directing more episodes.
She is great. Every episode that she's done has been fantastic.
She has nailed them all from this one. I mean, there's always a very, very clear story.
Yeah.
That is being told. It's all done well. Everything from the camera shots, the visuals, everything she does on it, from the one that was on the planet with the walkers.
Yeah, the first one was like chapter 3. It was like an early episode.
Yeah, so it's everything she does is great. So I'd almost rather just put her in the rest and let her finish the story of Boba Fett.
Yeah, well, there's a big movement to have her direct a Star Wars film, and I'd be okay with that.
I would be down for that. Yeah, she's earned the opportunity.
Allie says, I've been trying to keep up. It's so good. Well, keep up with us too, Allie. Join us every week.
Yeah, there we go. What was your first impression when you seen him standing behind that curtain in that butcher shop?
Well, my first impression was like, where the heck are we? I've never seen a Star Wars butcher shop before.
Well, I mean, I don't know the aliens. We were the creatures we were talking. They were coming like almost like a dog type.
Yeah, they're the Plutonians. They're the same ones that own that piece of Mos Espa, the dog-looking face guy that was giving him a hard time at the dinner table the other week. But it's the same race. But yeah, he walks in and he gives us the line and everything. I can bring in warm, I can bring in cold. Just like the first episode of Mandalorian.
Oh, I liked how badass he was. He was just walking through that butcher shop. He didn't care who seen him.
Right.
He just walked in, followed his beacon, and then he was like, I know who I'm talking to. Don't play dumb.
Yeah, he didn't have a lot of patience. He didn't need to. He had the weapons to back him up. He brings out the Dark Saber pretty quick.
That was cool. He didn't even. I thought he was going to just go to the whistling birds.
Yeah,
that would have been quick and easy, taking him out, and then deal with this dude all by himself. And he's like, "No, I'm gonna show you my muscle."
He got through it, but the more he used that thing, you could start to see how heavy it became. Until finally he ended up clipping the side of his leg with
it. He's lucky he didn't lose a leg.
Yeah. Is this the first time? Because, Star Wars fans have talked about this endlessly forever. Like, if you actually had a lightsaber, how easy it would be just to cut off your own leg.
Yeah, right.
Is this the first self-induced injury that we've seen?
As far as I know, yeah, and that's fantastic. I thought it was funny. And what the thing was, I seen him get hit, and I actually had to rewatch. I'll be honest, I didn't realize he hit himself.
Yeah,
I thought he got shot by that other guy because he turned around and started shooting at him. So I thought he actually got clipped. And then someone mentioned he got hit. So I watched it, obviously a second time.
Right.
And I was like, oh no, he did get himself.
Yeah, he grazed the side of his thigh there. It was tough. It was causing him a lot of pain too until he was able to get it fixed later. But yeah, so he ends up getting this bounty. He ends up, basically he's bringing him in cold.
Oh yeah, no, he cut dude in half and then just took his head off.
Yeah. Which was kind of a scary scene. Like, he was behind the you couldn't see him, you just saw his kind of blurry silhouette, and like the sound effects of him decapitating the
Yep.
thing and putting it in a bag, and then him walking out.
Yeah, then he
It was
deactivated the dark saber. You heard all of it. You really didn't see, like you said, you didn't see it was all silhouette. But it
yeah,
was like, okay, that's the badass I was waiting for in this book of Boba Fett.
right. Yeah. Well, we'll get there. We'll talk about it. We'll save that conversation for the end.
Yes, absolutely.
So he's got his bounty, right. He makes his way out of that butcher shop, and he gets on an elevator. This is a really cool scene where it's like done in a single shot, where he walks away, he gets on the elevator, and I think it's some kind of trickery they did with the this crazy set that they have with the
Yeah,
screens all around it. And I forget what they call it, the volume or something.
the volume, yeah.
But he goes in there. There's the alien that kind of like gives him a once over,
Kind
like
of a
a
side
look.
eye, like, whoa.
Yeah. And comes out, and he goes to his bounty, and the camera goes around the table where his, whoever hired him, and all he cares about is collecting his money and getting some information about and getting the heck out of
Really,
there.
he didn't care about the money. He
Yeah, it
wanted the
seems that way.
information. He was like, there's other people that have bounty on him too. I'll take him to them and
Yeah,
get the information.
right,
And he was like, and eventually they just gave it to him. He's like, okay. He didn't care about the money. He wanted to know how to get to the shafts down below the city.
right. Which he does. He gets the information. He heads that way. He's limping back. You can tell he's in a lot of pain, but he's holding it together. And he finally makes his way down near to the depths of this ring city.
Let's
Which,
talk about his vision again. They
yeah,
show him that ultra, like, I don't even know what to call it, but you see like markings on the walls. And eventually you've seen the mythosaur. And
yeah,
it's like that's where he knew the shaft was, and he went down, the area, which he almost didn't make it. If you looked at it, it's like there was no forgiveness. It was like black sky and like
yeah.
space below the shaft. So if he would have really fallen, he would Mandalorian no more.
Right, yeah, exactly. Luckily, he has a jetpack, maybe because I think earlier he even dropped the dark saber when he was fighting and came back up with it. But
If he would have fallen, he would have exhausted his manifold, if you know what I mean.
yeah, but he finds the armor from season 1, the
That
armor,
was cool when he
and
walks up and
Vizsla.
she's on her, like, I think she's
Yeah,
kind of on her knees, kind of in like
yeah,
a meditation type stance.
like Qui-Gon.
Yeah. Oh, that was so cool.
Yeah,
I'm so happy we're not finished with that character because she is such a badass.
yeah, and she continued to be a badass this episode too. And the only other one from their initial group from season 1 there is Paz Vizsla, who
Mhm.
is voiced by Jon Favreau himself, and he was the guy that was given Mando a lot of grief season
Yeah. Well,
1.
yeah. When he showed up with all the actual, the Beskar,
Yeah,
and when he realized the Beskar had the Empire's actual stamp on it,
yeah,
that's when he gave him a bunch of grief. Back when he was getting his basically his armor set up.
yeah. And Mando shows them DarkSaber, and at first I think they're a little incredulous, but then once they see it up close, Paz Vizsla holds it like he's carrying a baby or something.
Yeah.
And the armorer is like, no, this is legit. This is the real deal.
Yeah.
Apparently, the shaft is made out of Beskar too. We find
Yeah.
out.
That is cool. And
Yeah,
I love the whole explanation now.
yeah,
When she goes into, the Night of 1,000 Tears and what
yes.
caused that and the actual like
We get a glimpse of
mythology.
it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean the bombings and everything, the TIE fighters and the bombers going over and dropping bombs,
Mhm.
and the only reason that they survived was because they were on one of the moons and now they're
Right.
all scattered. But what they did in this episode tells me Favreau is paying attention to his audience.
Why is that?
Because his audience was like, why did Bo Katan not just take the saber from Mando, from Din?
Right.
And now we know
Yeah.
was because since she didn't since she's accepted it from
Sabine in Rebels.
yes, since she
Yeah.
just accepted it there and there was no combat, basically the prophecy, everything that happened in Night of 1,000 Tears, they're blaming on her because it was basically her taking it, which was not meant for her.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
the feeling I got, like, there's different sects of Mandalorians. Some are the more like cultish, old school, orthodox ones that keep the helmet on, like
Mhm.
Mando's group here, right? And then the other ones like Bo Katan, where they're just like whatever, they're kind of like new agey or whatever. But it seems like, yeah, the more orthodox ones had this prophecy, like you were saying, where unless the dark saber is passed from one person to another over a fight, and actually won in battle,
Yeah.
then it's going to put a curse on Mandalore
Mandalorian
and everything.
themselves,
And you know, I don't know, some bad stuff happened once after she took that from Sabine.
yeah.
So yeah,
Well,
it
I
kind of
think
confirmed that.
even like seeing Bo Katan's actual reaction when Mando was trying to hand it to her, it
Right.
was almost like she believes in it too now. She's
Yeah.
like, she doesn't want anything to do with it unless she wins it in some type of, some combat.
Right.
And it's awesome.
Christopher says you can tell that Paz is related to Pre Vizsla. Yeah, I think Pre Vizsla was voiced by Jon Favreau in the Clone Wars too. I think that's when he first came on to this whole Star Wars thing. I think that's where he met Dave Filoni initially in like the hallways of Skywalker Sound or something, and he was like, "Hey, you want to come over and do a voice?" And he did, and the rest is history. Now he's
Yeah,
like,
so being then, yeah, now look where you went. You
"Yeah,
want to do a voiceover? Let's check this now.
yeah, he's come a long way."
But man, I loved all of a sudden the tension, because the tension that was there with what was it, Pre Vista or
Paz Vizsla, yeah,
Paz Vista? And this, the first time we seen them together.
yeah,
And now seeing that they were happy to see each other alive. Now there's three of us. You know what I
right,
mean? Those conversations like that, like there was acceptance.
yeah,
And then when he's seen it, all of a sudden he was like, and he's seeing Mando having a hard time actually wielding it,
mm-hmm.
because it kept on it gets heavier and heavier if you fight against the blade. I don't know if that's true about like an actual lightsaber as well. That's not something that really
I don't think so.
we've gotten into in other episodes or anything about.
Yeah,
But there's a battle. He challenges him for the actual, Dark Saber.
right.
And even that is awesome. The battle, the back and forth, the taking off of the jetpacks. I'm
Yeah.
thinking, I'm watching like, guys, let's think this through. That's kind of stupid. Look what you're on. Do you really need to die?
Yeah, I loved the just like the mystical, it almost seems like Excalibur, right? It's got
Yeah.
this mystical energy around this specific lightsaber, where every other lightsaber that we've seen, it gets tossed or it's like whatever. But like this one, they're really doing their work to make sure that we know that the DarkSaber is special. This is some
Yeah.
kind of special blade. Even the shape of the blade, like the light shaft that comes up, it's not like some like cylinder, like a tube, like other lightsabers.
It's like
It's
an
an
actual
actual legit
sword,
like
saber.
blade.
Yeah.
Which is completely awesome. And you see it when the armor is holding it in her hands and turning it around for the camera, just to show you it's
Give
got
that
it's got
effect,
shape
yeah.
to it. Yeah, I thought it was just amazing. And just like the more we find out about the history of this particular DarkSaber and the history of the Mandalorians, it just gets better and better.
I love how they did that. Honestly, I
Yeah.
love how they took the time and told that story. Because like I said, I feel like they were listening to us.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay, so we got to give you a reason, an explanation, because the Night of 1,000 Tears already happened. It was, that's already canon. So
Right.
it was easy how to go ahead and put two and two together. But why did she do it once and not the second time?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, when they started going at the fight scenes, dude, Mando is a badass.
He is
Badass.
Well, he knew from his experience of the DarkSaber how unwieldy it is if you don't have to know how to use it properly. And even though Paz Vizsla came up and started to use it, it wore him out too. Just like a boxer that's throwing around
Yeah.
punches a lot too early. Like he was getting it stuck in their surroundings, and Mando used the advantage to whip out his vibroblade and really, take Paz Vizsla down.
We talked about that briefly before we came on here. I love seeing the vibroblades.
I do too.
It
Yeah.
is so cool. And he bested them. He had it,
He did.
the armor was like enough.
Yeah.
And then they start going through a creed. Have you ever taken off your helmet? No. And Mando pauses. And this here is gut wrenching, because you can see the emotion in his face without even seeing his face. His body language tells you everything you need to know when this whole scene goes on. Because then, the armor asks Mando. And then we get this interaction between Mando and the armor.
I have.
Then you are a Mandalorian no more.
I beg you for your forgiveness. How can I atone? Leave, apostate.
According to Creed, one may only be redeemed in the living waters beneath the mines of Mandalore.
But the mines have all been destroyed.
This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way, dude.
Yeah, I love this. This is good character development, right? Because what do we know of the Mandalorian is that he is all Mandalorian. Like, this is the Mandalorian. Like, he
Yeah.
bought into it hook, line, and sinker from when he was a kid. He's all about this life, this lifestyle. And for him to no longer be that, I mean,
when someone strips that from him,
right.
it's man, gut wrenching.
What who he would consider family, basically. I mean, these are people that raised him, that are a part of his clan, and now they're basically shunning him like the Amish or something. But she gives the caveat, like, the only way you can come back is if you bathe yourself in these living waters under the mines of Mandalore, which are apparently destroyed. So it's like, well, tough luck.
We now know what season 3 of The Mandalorian is going to be.
Yeah, our knight has his quest.
Yeah, he has his quest. We know, where it's going to be. We're going to be back on Mandalore. That's big.
Yeah.
And if we're back on Mandalore with the DarkSaber,
right,
we're for sure going to see Bo Katan.
Yeah,
and we're going to see. I mean, we're going to see everyone that we've seen prior.
Yeah. It was cool, basically, because when season 2 ended, his job was done, right? Season 1 and season 2, it was all about getting Grogu to safety, or where he should or supposed to be. Yeah, getting him where he belongs on Chris's chest.
Yeah, right there in a fuzzy mess.
And what he completed his mission at the end of season 2, so there's a lot of question marks. Well, like, now what? Now what's he gonna do?
Yeah. Hey guys, we got this far here. If you're watching us, we really appreciate it. If you are watching live, we love comments. Any interaction is amazing. If you can hit that like button, hit that subscribe, leave comments after. If you're watching recorded, please drop a comment, and we'll respond. But yeah, we're kind of gushing about this episode of the book of Din Djarin. I mean, the book of Boba Fett.
Yeah, something along those lines.
Yeah, so yeah, exactly.
Here, Christopher mentioned, the
Beskar handle. Yeah,
the Beskar handle for the DarkSaber there, which it just adds to its epicness thing. But yeah, so he doesn't have any choice but to leave at this point. But the duo that was left of these Mandalorians turned into a trio very briefly. Now it's back to a duo.
Very, very briefly. But we did miss something here. I think is very important, because when Mando walks back up, she's the armor sees the spear.
Oh, right.
And he hands over the spear. He said he got it from. He said he just had a Jedi.
Yeah.
And he said that's how he bested what's his face to go ahead and get the DarkSaber.
Mm-hmm.
And he gives it to her, and she's like, "What do you want me to forge out of it?" And he said something for a foundling, and we find out he's making something for Grogu.
Yeah.
And the rest of it's going to go ahead and be for another foundling or whatever they need to be. And it's cool because he goes ahead and it looks like it's some type of chainmail.
That's the only glimpse we see. Yes, they're just making very tiny little Beskar chain links.
Yeah. And then she ties it up in like a little Grogu like
handkerchief.
Like head, like handkerchief. You see the 2 ears come out in the head.
Yeah.
That was well done.
It was cute. It wasn't lost on anybody, I think, that shape, even on Mando. But that is important. So we have an item, and it gives us his intention, because a bit of his dialogue is that he wants to go back to Grogu already. Imagine it hasn't been that long since the end of season 2, maybe a few weeks or a couple months at most.
Yeah.
But he's already ready to go check in on him and make sure that he's okay.
Yeah. Well, he talks about, he says he wants to go see him. Mm-hmm. And then Armor's like, well, Jedi is going to go ahead and, have no attachment. Well, he said, well, that's completely against our creed.
Right.
And I'm not sure the exact wording he used, but once a member, always a member.
Yeah.
And he's considering him a foundling. So if he's considering him a foundling, that means he's considering him a Mandalorian.
Yeah.
So Grogu can quite frankly be the second Mandalorian Jedi.
Yeah. Yeah. After, what was the name of the first one?
Grogu's the only one important. The look on your face when I went, oh, you're like, uh-oh, where's he going?
Something pops in your brain.
This could be dangerous.
No, but you're right. I think this would be a very special path, and I don't know, maybe like Disney, a ways from now, they're already doing stories in like the Old Republic or the High Republic, right? As far as that era, who knows? Maybe they can set stories, 300-500 years from now.
I think that's what everyone wants. Everyone wants
Yeah.
forward. Everyone, when they went to the High Republic, everyone didn't want them to go backwards. Everyone wanted them to go forwards. So, I mean, they're opening avenues all over the place now.
Yeah, and maybe Grogu can be our connection to that era where we see an adult Grogu.
Yeah, kind of like how Yoda was, going all the way back to the prequels and everything,
and even the High Republic,
even High Republic. Yeah. So I mean, this could be the connecting thread.
Yeah. But so Mando leaves. He goes off this amazing ring world, which we didn't really talk much about, but the design of this thing was amazing.
It was awesome. I mean, from where you've seen the light hitting it and the shadow.
When he's walking through the street and behind him, you see the rest of it that's going up and around.
It had a Coruscant kind of feel to it.
It did, yeah.
But as like almost like it would have been a ring around Coruscant.
Yeah. Completely unique and awesome design. I've never seen anything like it in Star Wars, but it just had a really cool feel to it. There was a lot of moments and things in this episode that was just like, wow, that feels so Star Wars, but it's something I've never seen before.
Yeah.
And just there was a lot of moments like that in this episode. But
Dude.
Go ahead.
No. I think you were going at it. He tries to get off planet now.
Yeah.
How humbling is it that you can't even get on this transport unless you put all your weapons? It was funny too. He was like, "Oh, this one, oh, this one, oh, this one, oh, can't forget this one, this one." It was just one after another. He was pulling off his body,
and he had to, and he felt a little frustrated. He was like, saw everybody else going past him. I didn't know what they were trying to do to the scene. I was like, "Oh no!" Like once he put the Darksaber in there, was the last thing that he put in there. I was like, "Oh no!" Like what's going to happen?
I think that was everyone's thought.
Yeah,
everyone was thinking, don't put the Darksaber in there. Don't do it.
Yeah,
because we figured, he would get to wherever he's going. He would open the case and it's gone.
It's gone, right?
And then I mean, they did a great job with the tension. It was there.
They did.
They had everyone on their edge of the seats, and they just opened up. No, it was just a transport.
Yeah, thankfully, yeah. Yes. The whatever brand airline this is, they didn't lose the luggage going from the space ribbon to Tatooine.
But we're back on Tatooine. Star Wars loves its Tatooine. I mean, we knew we had to get there.
Yeah, I think Mando specifically, Pelimoto had reached out to him. That's the whole reason he went.
That's
there
right. Yeah,
to replace the Razor Crest.
Yeah, he thought she had another Razor Crest.
Yeah,
and boy, was he disappointed.
He was disappointed, but I was not.
No, seen the Star Cruiser, the Nabooian Star Cruiser. Yeah. Oh, that was freaking awesome. When I seen it, I'm like, oh, first thing I thought was like, oh, was that the one Anakin was in?
Yeah. I don't think it was, but because there was a lot of them. There's a whole fleet of them.
Yeah, no, it was just my brain going, oh.
But just seeing that shape, I've always loved the shape of it, with just like the two engines on either side, and how the tail always like streamed off there, and the bright bold colors of yellow. And I love towards the end of it, later you see it, they scrub off most of the yellow, but they still leave some yellow. They leave some
little red accents in it, but it's predominantly silver.
Right.
And I actually almost like the silver as much as I like the yellow.
I know. Once I saw this, I was like, "Man, that's a toy or a Lego."
Oh yeah, no, that's exactly, and that's why they changed the color of it. That's right. That's exactly why they changed the color, because they know they can go ahead and make another line of them.
Yeah. Plus, it's got all the mods, like the engine and stuff, all the bits and pieces.
Okay, let's talk about the engine a little bit.
Yeah,
I was thinking Fast and the Furious.
Oh yeah,
the engine popping out of the hood.
Right. It was rumbling too.
He was scared of it. He was like, should we go ahead and do a diagnostic? No, just take it up.
Oh, and I love that character piece too, because we learn more about Peli in this episode than we even did in the episodes of Mandalorian.
Dated a Jawa.
She dated a Jawa. She can listen for the sound of an engine and see if it's okay. Like, she's that dang good of an engineer and a mechanic. Like, wow, she's great.
Her character's a fun character to pop in and out.
Yeah, that's
one of those ones that if you need a light moment or just a little bit of fun,
right?
That is awesome.
Yeah. Jawas bring her parts, and there was actually I don't know if you noticed, one of the Jawas, they walk up and they bring a mod piece for it, and it's this long silver tube looking thing. And
he cut it off the bottom of the
Pike's ship.
The Pike's, Spice Runner. I'm like, oh, Jawas just don't give a damn.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. But then you notice too that thing that they actually bring is the same thing that Han lifts up in the trash compactor in A New Hope when the trash
Oh
compactor is
yeah,
going
that's how he
sideways.
props it up. Yeah, it keeps it from actually crushing on him.
Yeah, I
Oh,
thought
that's
that
an
was
awesome
such a
little
weird
nugget that I
callback.
didn't
It was
catch.
cool. Yeah, so they go about it. Yeah, he's oh, here's his. Hey guys, I'm late. Mandalorian season 3 is interesting, isn't it? Half kidding, LOL. Yeah, that's a whole discussion that we're gonna get into. First,
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
just gonna
Yeah, we were
get
gonna we're
into
giving all the things that we highly loved about it, and there's a lot to gush about this. There's a
Yeah.
few things like that there that we're gonna discuss here in a little bit. Just and I think it's gonna be very little like nitpicks
yeah.
because on how good this really was.
So Pelly mentions the pikes, so they're a known quantity, even to like
Apparently they've been there for a while. I think they've been running with Jabba.
Yeah,
So it's not like they're new to the planet or anything, but they're
right.
new to this area. I guess they never really took over the area after
Yeah.
Jawa died or was killed.
So there's a montage. You and I love montages. There's a bit of a montage sequence of them fixing this, souping up this N1 starfighter.
Did you notice the BD-1 droid?
I did, yes.
That was
cool.
awesome. That's a nice little nugget. That's another little thing that they just kind of slipped in there. And if you didn't play the
Jedi
game
Fallen Order.
Fallen Order, you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
So it was cool seeing that new droid. But how much has Mando changed that he is trusting droids to help him fix the ship?
Right. He's actually polite to that one. He calls him little guy, and he thanks him for showing him the little hologram of where to put the plating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was fun. How big would it be if all of a sudden he had one on his back, like connected to his armor, and he's walking around with him? He becomes his buddy. That would be.
Without Grogu, he needs some kind of companion to talk to. Just how Luke had R2, like you need something to bounce your ideas off of.
For a minute, I thought they were going to go ahead and keep the astromech droid
I thought so too
on the starship, and he was going to have himself an astromech.
Yeah, but they hollowed it out, and of course, as soon as you see it, like, well, that's a perfect spot for Grogu to, look out the window.
You know what? I didn't even connect the dots.
Yeah,
I didn't even think that. First thing I thought was, man, he can't work now. He's not nowhere to put his bounty.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's that too. So it's like, I don't think he needs to be a bounty hunter anyway. I mean, there's a bigger picture.
I think this ship is short-lived. He's going to have a Razor Crest back.
Yeah.
We're going to see a Razor Crest at least halfway through Mandalorian season 3.
I don't know. I don't know why you would go through all this trouble of giving him this one just to replace it later. But
this ship is bad. This ship is really bad.
Oh yeah, it's sweet. He takes it for a test drive. He basically he's talking to Pelly over the communicator. It's kind of clunking around, but it's because it needs to be driven like a sports car.
Yeah.
It needs to put some gas into it, put the pedal to the metal. And he does, and whoo boy!
Once he lets it go, and this whole sequence, I love. She's like pointed towards the two suns, and you'll find the canyon. Was it Beggars Canyon?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you're flying through the route where the podcast race took place in episode 1. I mean, everything.
The podcast race.
The podcast race. The pod racers. Yeah.
The pod race. Yeah.
I just watched Afterlife. Don't worry. The podcast. But yeah, I mean, they're going through it and little details. I didn't catch it the first time. I called it the second time. Do you know the safety ramp where Anakin busted through? And that was shattered, and the debris was still there. So just little things like that, and flying through when he pulled up
and banking through the canyons.
Yeah,
yeah.
It just harkened back to those races, which was one of the best things about that first movie.
A lot of Phantom Menace callbacks in this episode, which was cool. Yeah. He lets into it, and then he ramps up and goes into the atmosphere.
Yeah, he's like, see what we can do.
Yeah, and he waves back to that Rodian kid that he flew to Tatooine with.
Yeah, he's seen on the transport.
Yeah.
Well, okay. What makes him think it's a good idea to fly in and around this transport so close and so fast? Then all of a sudden, I was hoping he would say Dinferk.
Yeah, I don't think he was thinking. I think he was just enjoying himself. Like he really likes this new modified N1.
I don't think he knew how much he liked it until he was having the interaction with this
right. Exactly. Yeah. He gets pulled over basically by two X-wings. It's like when two patrol cars pull you over and give you a speeding ticket.
It's usually not a good thing.
No, it's not good.
But I mean, he wasn't lying to him this time around either. He didn't have any of this information on the ship yet. He's just taking it for the test drive.
Yeah.
And then the other pilot, X-wing pilot, was like, "I recognize your voice."
Right.
That
Yeah.
was great. When he starts like, did you fly a Razor Crest?
Right.
I don't know what you're talking about, sir, officer.
Yeah. Oh, I don't think he even answered him. He was just like, "Bye." Like he hit the Nas, and it was just like, bam, and he was out of there.
That was, and he was like, I didn't even see him power up his light speed. That sublight,
Yeah.
it's gone. It's like, oh, that's awesome.
So it gave you just a little bit more of the, and he honestly, he's needed a ship like this because how often has he been chased in the Razor Crest, and they're
Yeah,
just like firing on the Razor Crest. He can't seem to get away from him. You could feel just how clunky it was to like fly the Razor Crest around when other fighters would just be like zooming around him.
well, I
And
think he liked the Razor Crest because it was it was an RV.
yeah,
That's essentially what the Razor Crest was. It wasn't sleek. It wasn't anything. It was an RV.
it wasn't meant to get into chases, and he
Yeah,
found
no.
himself getting in more and more chases as we were watching him through the Mandalorian. But he's it's gonna be hard pressed. I don't know. That's why I love the Falcon so much. You know, everybody loves the Millennium Falcon because it's this big hunk of junk that looks like a hunk of junk. Remember, Luke even says so.
Yeah,
But it's because of all the modifications
he
that
needs a
Hans put into it over the
he needs a
years.
ship like the Ghost.
Yeah,
That's what he needs because he'll
yeah,
have his own separate little transport that comes off the Ghost.
right,
But then he'll have, I mean, the Ghost is essentially an RV too. But the Ghost is more of like a tour bus.
right.
It's big and it does what it needs to do.
It is. It's a little Winnebago, yeah, to get through space. Oh, that's funny, like Spaceballs. But yeah, it's kind of one of those things where it's a great new ship here. Razor Crest is perfect for bounty hunter. Where is he going to put the bodies now? Exactly.
Yeah, that's our thing. As soon as I seen the ship he has now, it's like, okay, well, I guess that that job's on hold right now, which essentially it is.
Yeah.
This ship actually serves a purpose. It gives them the ability to get to wherever Luke and Grogu are
Mhm.
fast, get there, have his interaction, do whatever, and get back for Boba Fett quick.
Yeah.
What if it's Boba Fett that gets in the ship, gets in the Razor Crest?
I mean, could be. We haven't seen any. It's so hard to tell. This series, the Book of Boba Fett, is constantly throwing us curveballs episode to episode. So who knows? Maybe he has one just sitting there.
Just, oh yeah, just in the hangar somewhere that
Yeah.
just sitting there from a prior bounty hunter or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. I really think we're gonna see another Razor Crest. I really do. As
Alright.
badass as this Naboo Starfighter is, I think we're gonna get a Razor Crest.
So yeah, he takes out of there. He heads back to Tatooine. He lands there in Pelimoto's little mechanic shop again, and Peli lets him know that he had a visitor, which is strange because who knows that he's here. But it turns out it was Fennec Shand. He, I guess, got word that Mando was back in town, and she asked him like, "Hey, Boba Fett needs help. He would sure appreciate." She's asking him like very nicely, which is kind of
Well,
strange for Fennec Shand.
Well, after I thought about it, because I thought they didn't part ways on good terms,
Yeah,
but that was when he first encountered her.
right.
That wasn't the second encounter that he had with her when it was with Boba Fett.
Yeah.
So I mean, I bet you things have cooled. They're not as
Oh,
icy.
sure. Yeah, well, the last time that they interacted, she was dedicated to helping him get Grogu back, save
Yeah.
Grogu. So yeah, I think things have cooled off. They're on the same side.
Yeah. So the interaction here, I buy.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely buy it. And let's see the interaction we're speaking of here.
By any chance, are you looking for work?
Might could be.
Pay is good.
What's the bounty?
No bounty. We need muscle.
Boba Fett.
He sure would appreciate it.
Tell him it's on the house. But first, I gotta pay a visit to a little friend.
Pay a visit to a little friend.
Yeah.
I mean, we got a question about that right when it was running, and it's fitting. Do you think we'll see Mando's Grogu side quest in Boba Fett or season 3? I think they can't set it up like this. I think we're going to see it next episode. I think we're going to see Grant. We're going to see Grogu.
We kind of have to, right? Because you
Yeah.
can't You can't end this episode like that, and then we don't see Mando or Grogu. Or if we see Mando, the Mandalorian, it's not like he's going to come back at the end of the episode and be like, "Oh yeah, I just came back from seeing Grogu and everything's cool." Like that's not going to make sense.
No.
So the writers have kind of painted themselves in a corner here, where it's like we're going to have to continue to follow, and I guess that's where we need to start talking. Now we got through the episode, we need to start talking about just what they're doing. Like, what are they doing? Like,
Okay.
We've got 7 episodes
Yeah.
of the Book of Boba Fett. A lot of which there was flashbacks up till now that took a lot of this story. And it's just very strange that one of the 7 episodes is dedicated entirely to a different character.
Yeah.
On a different plot.
I have heard that. I mean, I've heard that. And then I've heard people also respond in this manner. It's called the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
So if you look at each episode as a chapter in a book, some sci-fi or fantasy novels have a whole chapter that is about another character. If they would have just went ahead and dropped Mando in, say for instance, they dropped him in at the end of last episode.
Yeah.
We would have been like, okay, where have you been? What's going on? And then they would have been forced to go ahead and give us a backstory on where he's been after the fact. In this manner, they went ahead and gave it to us before we really seen him.
I get that argument, but usually when usually books have a lot of chapters, not just 7 chapters.
Well, yeah. I mean, and I agree. I think it's kind of a stretch, putting it that way, but I thought it was low hanging fruit. Yeah, and that's because we were talking about who we thought we were going to see this week after we heard the Mandalorian's theme played when they were zooming back off the balcony.
And you were like, "Oh, I don't think it's Din Djarin."
I really thought they were setting us up, and I thought it was too obvious, and it was playing too straightforward. And I really didn't think that was going to be the case. Right. I was absolutely wrong, and I love this.
That's why, like at the end of the episode last week, I was like, "Are you sure?" They kind of just like played the Mandalorian's theme, like his theme. If he was a pro wrestler, that would be his entrance theme, and we're not going to see him next week.
Yeah. I mean, I just, like I said, I thought it was too low hanging fruit. Yeah. And I thought they were going to do something a little different, or something that was connected to the Mandalorian. That's all I really thought about it. And I mean, it worked. Yeah. But what does it say about a show that by far the best episode of the show is an episode that has nothing to do with the namesake of the show?
It's bad, because here's why. Because I was conflicted at the end of this episode. I watched this episode. I couldn't take my eyes off it. I was fully entertained and invested for the 50 minutes or so that I was watching it. I was like, oh my God, the special effects are incredible. The acting is incredible. The design, the imagination is incredible.
The update to his armor. You notice that his armor is sleeker and everything.
It's just like, it looks movie quality, right? And I'm blown away by this episode. And then at the end of it, I'm like, damn, like, why can't the rest of the Book of Boba Fett feel that way?
Yeah, because even when they were back on Tatooine, it still kept that same feeling. You still felt movie quality when he was in I never remember her name, mechanic.
Peli Motto's.
Yeah, when they were in Peli, basically in her shop, and then when Fennic showed up, it didn't.
Oh, and when the N1 starfighter was like, flew above town, right? And was like all those shots banking through, and like all of it looked fantastic. You compare that, the way the N1 starfighter was like flying over the city and banking through the canyons, you compare that to that awful chase in Mos Espa with the Vespa
scene.
Gangs. Like, there's no comparison.
No,
it's night and day.
Yeah, no, you got the feeling of speedness. You knew he was going fast. The Vespas felt like you can get out and walk next to him.
Yeah. So it almost accentuated how poorly I feel about the rest of the Book of Boba Fett because this episode was just so darn good.
Do you think, I mentioned at the very beginning of this, how Bryce Dallas Howard, actually this was the first one she did of the Book of Boba Fett.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it has anything to do with her vision of the episode? Like, if she would have directed one of the other episodes, do you think the other episodes would have been better, or do you think she just has a feel for exactly what like the Mandalorian is.
There's any number of reasons it could have been. Honestly, this episode could have been produced back when they were shooting Mandalorian season 2. Like maybe they
That's
just
very
had the
true.
entire crew. Maybe even Pedro Pascal was doing it, even though he doesn't need to be. It's just a guy in a helmet. But
Yeah.
maybe that's why it feels so much like Mandalorian season 3, episode 1, is because it was produced by that entire team. Maybe you got, there's a different production team on Book of Boba Fett. There's any number of reasons why there is such a difference, but I think it was a mistake, basically, to have such a glaring difference in between episodes. And yeah, we're going to go back. And here's another thing, too. Book of Boba Fett, we've been going wild with speculation, as far as what this finale is going to look like, what this fight between Boba Fett and the Pikes is going to look like.
Yeah.
Are we going to see, Boba Fett riding a Rancor? Are we going to see, first, even forget the Mando. We were like, are we going to see Bosk and Black Chrysanthemum? Are we going to see, how many Pikes?
Like Cad Bane. Yeah.
Cad Bane, like all these characters. Now you throw Mandalorian in the mix. We know Mando's coming back. Is he going to have Grogu with him? Is he actually going to bring back Luke Skywalker?
Luke? Yeah. Are we going to see Luke when we see Grogu?
So, they're tossing all this stuff to us that we are catching, and I just don't think the season finale of this is going to be anywhere near anything like that.
There's no way they can pay this off.
No,
there's no way. And really, this episode here is essentially what a couple of the episodes of Mandalorian season 2 were.
Yeah,
all it was to prepare us for another season, another show. This one here gave us all the backstory of Mandalore, why Bo Katan didn't take the DarkSaber the second time when it was offered to her.
Right.
And now we know what Mando's, quest is going to be. He's got to go find, one of those mines to bathe in the waters. So it just set it all up. And now we know we're going, because everyone was like, are we done with Baby Yoda and everything? Everyone knew we weren't done with Baby Yoda or Grogu. So now if we bring him into this season, if we see him, I'm sorry, it's going to completely overshadow the whole Book of Boba Fett. When you see Mando and we see, Grogu together, maybe in this next episode, even if it's just for a brief 2-minute scene or whatever,
right?
It's going to overshadow everything else that takes place in that episode.
Maybe I'll end up eating my words, and maybe we actually see Din Djarin, and he actually has a legit conversation with Luke Skywalker again, and maybe it's just 10 or 15 minutes in the next episode, and then we see him fly back, and we're able to have a very satisfying, episode and a half or episode and 2/3 leading up to the end of the finale for the season, and everything will be great and awesome. But I just don't have the faith from what I've seen so far in the Book of Boba Fett, without the Mandalorian influence. I just don't have any faith that that's what's going to happen in the next 2 episodes.
No, honestly, like I said, we were guessing what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And now I'm at a loss. And what I don't want to see is I don't want to see Mando or Din or whatever you want to call him side by side with Boba Fett and Mando whooping up and Boba Fett getting his butt kicked. Wouldn't that completely defeat the purpose of that badass scene in the Mandalorian season 2 when Boba Fett was the one whooping ass?
Yeah.
So I just feel like the level of ass kickery is higher in Mando.
Let me ask you this. I just thought of it. So essentially, Din Djarin was kind of kicked out of his family at this episode, right?
Yeah.
He was booted from the family that he knows. This whole season, Boba Fett's been talking about building a tribe, building a new family, building people he could be close to. Do you think he invites Din Djarin into the fold there on Tatooine to be part of this group? And do you think Din Djarin would actually consider that?
No, he won't, because Boba Fett's not a Mandalorian. He's not a foundling. He's a clone that has the armor. He has.
We're getting into semantics there, because then you're asking, well, was Jango Fett a Mandalorian? Was Jango Fett a Mandalorian?
As far as I know, no, he had no connection actually to Mandalore. He had the armor. We know now that either you were born on Mandalore and you are a Mandalorian, or you are a foundling and you are adopted into the Mandalorian culture.
And Jango Fett wasn't a foundling.
As far as I know, there's
See,
nothing
I
I
thought
know.
he was raised by a Mandalorian by the name of Jaster Muriel, which goes into Legends stuff. To be fair, I don't know because
Yes, I don't know for certain either, honestly.
there were stories that were written about Boba Fett before the prequels were even created, right?
Yeah.
And with Jaster Muriel and all this stuff. And then they created Jango Fett, and there's all this canon around that was coming out during the prequels that is now not canon anymore.
Yeah, it's all
since
Legends
Disney
now, so
bought it.
they wiped it all. So it's
So
hard
it's-
telling.
I have no clue whether or not he's connected to the Mandalorians legit or not, but Sean was right. He was a farmer. Oh, who's that? He's just a simple man making his way through the galaxy. Who is the farmer?
Yeah, I'm a
Christopher,
little
don't
lost.
leave me
Chris.
hanging. Maybe Jango Fett was a farmer. I mean, he was a clone farmer.
That's funny. But I mean, yeah, I mean, at that point, we're you
Yeah,
ask
getting
one
in the weeds
person,
there.
you can get one answer. You ask another. I mean, that's one of those debates that can go back and forth.
Yeah.
I think he would rather be with the armor. I think he looks at the armor kind of like a mother figure.
Yeah, he's gonna accept this quest. He's gonna go to Mandalore. He's gonna find these waters. And
What if he doesn't leave Mandalore? What if he goes back to Mandalore? He does his quest. He finds the waters, but he's holding the saber, and it gets out while he's there. Because I'm pretty sure there's probably Mandalorians there, not by numbers. I mean, we know that the planet was decimated.
Yeah.
But I mean, there are some that have survived. What if they've come back and they started colonizing again? And then they get wind that he's there. He has the saber.
Yeah, because as of right now, it's like this. It's rumored throughout the galaxy that Mandalorian is just like shards of glass, like it's not even inhabitable.
Yeah,
like you can't live there if you wanted to. So I think maybe the Mandalorians that are out there, they're not even attempting to go back because they think it's just a wasteland. But if it's not, and it's actually we are able to create an establishment there, maybe on the moon of Concordia next to it, right?
Yeah.
And they do hear news that there's this guy named Din Djarin. He's a Mandalorian through and through. Guy never even takes off his helmet. He's one of those guys. He's old school, and he's got the Dark Saber. I think that'll be enough to draw Mandalorians back to their home planet.
Yeah,
and create a new civilization there, which would be cool. I don't see him as a king, though. He's not. We're gonna have to see some character growth in Din Djarin to see him as a leader because he's such a lone wolf.
Yeah,
and that could be interesting to see how a lone wolf becomes a leader. But I don't know if that's the story they're telling. So I don't know. We're gonna see.
Yeah, I don't know. So I keep on thinking when I think of Mando, I think of Grogu.
Yeah,
and I think they have their own clan. They have their own crest. Oh, what if the crest is on the chain mill? There we go. The mud horn.
Oh, Jango's family were farmers. That is why the little logo looks like wheat. Oh, Christopher, I didn't know that.
There we go. A little nugget of truth.
Yeah, there we go.
No. I think Mando is going to have his own clan.
Yeah.
I think he's going to go ahead and successfully finish that quest.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's going to report back to grandmother or mother or whoever, you know what I mean, the armorer, and say, I've done it. But he's not going to join. Like he willingly joined this last time. I think he's not going to, because I think there's going to be a resentment. Like you turned your back on me type thing when I maybe have needed you most.
Right.
And he may have, Grogu back. So there'll be a clan of two.
Yeah.
And frankly, their clan's going to be stronger than theirs.
I can't wait. Honestly, Mandalorian season 3 has so many question marks around it. And if this episode is any indication of how season 3 is going to be, it's going to be fantastic.
Dude, I've been chomping at the bit for like 3 days to talk about this. Like we started talking. We never do this. We save our conversation for you guys here on the show. But we started texting back and forth. I'm like, okay, you were like, okay, I got to cut it off. I'm going to talk too much.
Do you think we're going to be lucky enough to see Luke Skywalker next episode? And we've had rumors that Harrison Ford.
I hope not.
You don't think we're going to see any DH Harrison Ford or anything?
Dude, no, I don't want to see a DH Harrison Ford. Also, I think it's too much.
Yeah.
I think it may be too much.
Yeah.
We're gonna
I don't see how it fits in at this point.
Yeah, no, really. And if really, honestly, I would rather just see like a silhouette of Luke. I don't need to see Luke.
Right.
You know what I mean? Him kind of like looking out the window or something like he can sense him coming in. He knows he's coming in.
Right.
And then, Grogu is in some type of like, cross-legged kind of, meditation set up on, one of those little stools or whatever, however you want to say it. Say it.
Yeah.
And he comes in and he's talking to him, and either he gives him the gift or he comes with him.
Right.
Which I don't know. That'd be too short-lived with Luke, I think, if he came with him. But I absolutely think we're going to see him in season 3, like with Mando.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we'll see some big things. Maybe the I don't know. What this all speculation at this point.
Oh yeah, no, that's all we're doing now. And this was the thing that we could do with Mandalorian.
It's been hard to speculate with Boba Fett because we're just like, who knows?
We're scatterbrained. We have no idea.
Yeah.
And then they're throwing such deep cuts out for certain deep fans that it's hard to even go off of that because you don't know where they're going to go from there.
Right.
Let's see. Are we going to see Din ride a mythosaur when he goes back to Mandalore? Dude, it would be awesome to see a mythosaur.
See a live action mythosaur.
Oh my
all we've
Lord.
ever seen is the cartoon form from the holiday special and the skull shape, right?
Yeah.
That's on the insignia there. To see that thing brought to life, how we saw a crate dragon, the Mandalorian, that would be insane. That would be cool.
That scene would remind me of like I'm going to a whole nother movie, but Avatar.
Yeah.
When that main creature's riding that big fly, I don't remember what his name was anymore. But that big flying one that only like one other person's ever flew on.
Yeah.
So it would be kind of like the return of the king. I'm going Lord of the Rings now.
There you go. The Nazgul, yeah.
Yeah, so it would be down that line.
Or even, I mean, the mythosaurs are pretty huge, so maybe even be like, hey, Bryce Dallas Howard, she's got that Jurassic Park connection.
Oh yeah,
maybe she'll make it work.
I hope she actually directs at least one of the last couple episodes here.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. There's probably more to say on this episode, but you and I have already been going for a while now. I'm still like, I have no idea what's going to come next episode. I'm hoping that we see more Luke Skywalker. I'm hoping that we get something satisfying with Mando and Grogu next episode. But who knows? We may go right back. Episode 6 may open up with Boba Fett again, and we're just back in the Pike storyline on Tatooine, and we don't see Mando until maybe like the end of the climax of the
I hope he doesn't do like a Miss Marvel. In like Endgame type situation,
with his N1,
she's there for 2 seconds and gone.
Yeah.
Oh, there'll be a lot of pissed off people.
That's the thing here. They're setting up so much where people's expectations are getting ramped up.
Well, you hear me. You hear my voice. I mean, us going back and forth. Like my voice is like just getting higher and higher and higher. The more I talk about it, the more excitement I have on it. So, I mean,
how are they going to deliver on all this?
There's so much. They're building this up, and Boba Fett doesn't have an army. He doesn't have an army. No. He's got 4 kids on Vespas. He's got a
Black Chrysanthemum,
Fennic, and now Din Djarin.
Yeah, barely, and he's barely got all of these people. They haven't like created a family or a unit. Like he's paying Black Chrysanthemum. You know what I mean?
He was going to pay. He was going to pay Din, but Din's like, this is on the house.
We're gonna have to have a heck of a montage next episode to really show. They're gonna like be painting Jabba's palace or something, and like laughing and playing in a montage scene, like an old '80s comedy or something.
You looking for like a volleyball scene?
Yeah,
with Boba with his helmet off and Din with his helmet on, both of them shirtless.
Sure. That big old Tamura Morrison chest, that broad chest of his, broad 60-year-old chest.
Okay, guys, we are off the rails here, but if you don't know who we are yet, we're Dad and Rock. We do this after show every week. Right now, we're doing Boba Fett through the end. Star Wars is kind of our bread and butter. If you couldn't tell, we do them on all of our shows. Well, one of the big ones we've done was the Ted Lasso after show. So if you love Ted Lasso, go check that out. We've got a lot of stuff over on our YouTube page. So if you find something you like, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, that little bell. We do this weekly at 10 o'clock every Friday night. And we love it when everyone interacts as well. So it's just really fun to have you guys here.
Yep. Alaro, thanks for joining us. Christopher, you as well. Always, when you're with us live, be sure to interact. But even after the fact, when you watch us afterwards on YouTube, Be sure to leave a comment. Leave a comment. It really helps out the channel.
Okay, guys. So like Mando said, this one's on the house.
See ya.